is 32 minutes past the hour here. Trayvon Martin's parents are taking their case directly to the Justice Department. They say they will ask the Justice Department to investigate if a Florida state attorney possibly interfered in the investigation of their son's shooting death by George Zimmerman. This would be in addition to the current Justice Department investigation into Martin's death, which is looking at whether or not the incident was a hate crime. There are still many unanswered questions in this case, but one piece of evidence is especially haunting. It's the screams of an unidentified person caught on a 911 tape as the neighbor called for help.
Okay. Does he look hurt to you?
I can't see him. I don't want to go out there. I don't know what's going on. So they're sending him.
So you think he's yelling help?
Yes.
All right, what is your...
It's tough to listen to that. And here's how a different witness described it to Anderson Cooper. We've disguised their voice to hide their identity.
I heard the yell for help, one yell for help, and then I heard another, as I described, this excruciating type of yell. It didn't even almost sound like a help. It just sounded so painful.
So here's what you should know. Zimmerman himself says that he was yelling for help as he was being attacked by Trayvon. According to the original police report, he said, quote, "I was yelling for someone to help me, but no one would help me." The Orlando Sentinel asked audio experts to analyze the screaming and reports that it did not match George Zimmerman's voice. And joining us now is one of those experts. Ed Primeau is an audio engineer and forensics expert, and he joins us now from Detroit. If you could explain to me the technique that you use in order to do your voice analysis, please.
There's really two curricula that are used. The first is critical listening skills, which an audio forensic expert that specializes in voice identification develops over time. And the second is electronic measurement as a spectrum analysis.
And is this normally used in cases like this, or is it used to identify stress in voice?
It's used to identify an unknown voice in cases. I've worked on murder cases and bomb threat cases. This is an exact science that, when used properly, is beneficial to the legal team and brought onto into the courtroom.
All right, here's a shot of the audio meters from your blog, audioforensicexpert.com. What did you find?
When I first got a blog from Jesse Siegel, sent me a note asking me to listen to these recordings and formulate an opinion. That was the first time that I really paid attention to these recordings. And I started to listen to the George Zimmerman call, and I saw the whole situation unfold in my mind's eye. The way that he was told by the 911 dispatch not to proceed when he saw Trayvon running. I also heard him refer to Trayvon as "these people always get away with this," and I'm paraphrasing, and I heard something after that which also kind of leads up to the whole recreation in my mind's eye. And then after listening to that call, I listened to the woman's call where you could clearly hear the screaming in the background, and my immediate reaction is, that sounds like a young man.
Okay, have you ever heard Trayvon's voice, though, in order to be able to make a comparison here?
No, but that would be a requirement going forward, would be to have an exemplar, which is a sample of George Zimmerman's voice. And you want to get it as exact as possible. You want to create it using as much equipment that was used to create this original call. And then you want to get some samples of Trayvon's voice, perhaps from some family video where he's laughing or his attitude has escalated, very similar to the way that these screams are. And then analyze all of the data to determine the results to provide to the legal team.
You mentioned something earlier. Was it the police department that brought you in order to analyze the voice?
No, it was a blogger out from Washington, Jesse Siegel, who sent me an email asking me my opinion about it, and that was really the first contact that I had with this, and this was a little over a week ago.
Now, we know that this is not an exact science here, but in your opinion, is there a chance here that this is not Zimmerman's voice?
There's a huge chance that this is not Zimmerman's voice. As a matter of fact, after 28 years of doing this, I would put my reputation on the line and say this is not George Zimmerman screaming.
And can you put a percentage on that?
Boy, that's a tough question. I'm going to say about 95.
All right. And so you say that in order for us to get a better analysis, I guess, here, that you would need to have Trayvon's voice. Are you going to get that?
Nobody's asked me to do anything yet. I think what's even more important here is to get an exemplar of George Zimmerman's voice through the same phone call the lady used when she called into 911 operators that day, put him in the exact same spot where the screaming came from, and recreate the sign and recreate the site, excuse me, and then record that as similar as possible to the original 911 call. That's the way we analyze Zimmerman's voice. And then the Trayvon voice we have to analyze using whatever we have available to us from the family.
You know, we attempted to reach out to Zimmerman's attorney, and we have not heard back. Do you think that all of this could actually affect the investigation?
I do.
All right, Ed Primeau, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time and your expertise.